Chapter 20 The Nick of Time. Outside the Great Wall, the gang was surrounded by all sides, things looking hopeless. Roaring back and forth, it was clear the Sharptooth planned to kill the gang. Huddled close, the gang prepared for the worst, seeing the Sharptooth lunge at them. Swinging his tail, Littlefoot tried to keep them back, learning his moves from Doc, the legendary lone dinosaur. He wrapped his tail around the Sharptooth's leg, tripping him, allowing them a bit of time to escape. Sarah acted as a shield to protect Ducky, Spike, and Tippy, who backed into the narrow passage. The horned Sharptooth roared and tried to hook her with his horn, the pair hitting heads. "I must admit, for prey, you sure got guts," he taunted. In the air, Petrie and Guido tried to stay clear of Talon, who snapped and clawed at them.
"Fools! I can't wait to eat upon you. I'm sure you'll taste delicious,"
she said, licking her beak. Guido struggled to gain height, Petrie diving down to take the blow from Talon. She slammed Petrie into the rock, letting him fall and be caught by Ducky. Guido flew and made a turn, going and knocking Talon, the pair clawing while the fight raged below them. A fast-biter tried to attack Littlefoot, only for Screech and Thud to hold him off, taking turns fighting to keep up their energy. "You dare betray your own kind by working with food, by following an unworthy alpha," Blaze taunted, clearly angry that his brethren would help the fake alpha. "You talk about honor, yet you follow a serial killer, an insane leader," Thud shot back. "Yeah, at least with the wimp we won't have to worry about running out of food," Screech put in, ducking and clawing at Blaze. The three jumped, scurrying under Littlefoot, who reared up and tried to hit the feathered Sharptooth. Frank moved and struck Littlefoot in the side, pinning him against the rock. Placing a foot on him, Frank roared and felt Littlefoot struggle to get loose.
"Littlefoot!"
Sarah called, wondering what to do. She had to protect the others from the horned Sharptooth, watching helplessly as a feather Sharptooth opened his mighty jaw, revealing razor-sharp teeth. Preparing for the worst, Littlefoot shook and figured he was a goner. Suddenly, Littlefoot saw the feathered Sharptooth lifted and tossed aside, unable to believe he'd been saved. From a set of rocks, Chomper leapt and landed with a thud, coming between the meat-eaters and his friends. From where she stood, Stephanie saw Chomper, eyes glimmering with interest. "As I live and breathe, the wimpy Sharptooth." "You bet I am. Now back away from the plant-eaters, or I'll make you."
"See that? He admits he's a wimp. How hilarious."
"I know who I am. I have nothing to prove, not to you, nor anyone." With that, Chomper tossed his head up, sending Blaze back into Frank and Stephen, who were pushed backwards a few yards. His eyes went to the horizon, seeing Ruby being held by the finned Sharptooth. "Let Ruby go, and I'll take you on."
"So serious, especially when it comes to your little friend."
Running a claw along Ruby's neck, Stephanie laughed. "Very well, enjoy your last few minutes together." Shoving Ruby, Stephanie watched her go to Chomper.
"Chomper!"
Ruby called, rushing to him, glad he was alive after all. "Ruby!" Chomper opened his arms and took her in his hold, never wanting to let go. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything, leaving you, for being late." His eyes locked onto hers. "And I get it.
Quit playing around and face me, coward!"
Stephanie shouted, becoming impatient. "You can do this. Get the others back into the Great Valley and seal off the opening." Giving a nod, she kissed his cheek.
"For good luck."
Making sure Ruby was safe, Chomper went to stand across from Stephanie, who slammed her foot down in an intimidating way. "If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you'll get." Baring his fangs, he growled and moved in a circle with her, eyeing her up.
I must say, you're kind of small for a male. Was that from poor nourishment? Did your mom not feed you enough?
Least my mother taught me proper manners and the balance of life, unlike your mother. From what I hear, you're a heartless killer, taking lives only for the sake of fun. Sickening.
Oh, but there's something so perfect about seeing someone die before your eyes. Gives me a shudder of pleasure. Besides, you better watch your mouth, especially talking to your future alpha.
You'll never be alpha so long as I'm here. Chomper shot back, not going forward.
Why haven't you come at me? What are you, yellow?
That's a bit insensitive to my three-horned friend. She's anything but cowardly. Also, if you'd like, I'll let you take the first blow. After all, I'm not the kind to hit first. At least, not with a lady. He paused, trying to explain himself better. Not that I'm not for equality. I just hate to strike a female first. Seems a bit rude. Shut up! Just shut that stupid mouth of yours! Racing forward, she shoved Chomper back, clawing at him with each arm. There was a few slashes, Chomper moving aside and avoiding them, spinning his tail to hit her along the stomach. Her hand grabbed his arm, yanking him and throwing him down. On his back, she dug her claws into his chest, hearing him roar out in pain. While he wasn't able to hold her back, his legs managed to get under her and toss her off. The great fin protected her from rolling, Stephanie able to get back up quicker, looking ahead to the group. What are you waiting for? Get those plant eaters! The pack turned from her, preparing to finish the gang off, who tried to flee back into the Great Valley. Chomper tried to stop them, only to be grabbed by the tail and yanked backward to stay in the fight. Where do you think you're going? You stay and fight! The gang moved, Littlefoot hanging back to make sure the others made it safely. Hearing the approaching danger, he spoke. Right! Spike, Tippy, go on back into the valley. Ducky, make sure Petrie gets in safely. Turning to Sarah, he continued. Sarah, you and I hang back and fight them off.
Did you even have to ask?
Sarah faced the oncomers with little fear, dropping her head and pawing the earth with her foot, ready to charge. Maybe I can help, Guido asked timidly, quaking where he perched on Littlefoot's back. Go see how Chomper is doing, then report back to us. Stay in the air and watch out for that Sharptooth flyer. Righto! Diving back, Guido spread his wings and took off, soaring over the three, heading for where the dust stirred up, where Chomper fought Stephanie. On his way, he noticed a shadow, Talon, swooping down to grab him. While smaller than Petrie, Guido was quicker and managed to sweep aside and avoid getting nabbed. Knowing he had to shake Talon, Guido strayed and headed for a rocky area, hoping to lose Talon. Moving right to left, Talon struggled to keep up and went higher, making Guido think he lost her. Whew! Glad that's over. Before he could celebrate, Guido was shoved forward and sent closer to the earth. Oh no!
Gotcha, fool!
Reaching back, Guido grabbed Talon's wing, preventing her from continuing their descent. Twisting in the air, he sent a few punches across Talon's face. One wing free, Talon slammed it into Guido's chin, trying to push him back. There was a good deal of yelling and squawking, mostly on Guido's end. Hovering, he bucked up, and when the time was right, he bit her hand. Distracted, Guido made sure to twist Talon's body, hitting the ground with a thud. A crunching sound was heard, Talon's bones breaking, left distorted and dying. Guido took a shaky breath, leaping back and unable to believe he beat Talon and avenged Petrie. Brushing the dust from his feathers, Guido took off and went to see how Chomper was making out. Back to the fight, Guido went, seeing it wasn't looking good, for Stephanie fought dirty, leaving a few cuts on Chomper's body. He panted, hating to use his powers on her, but knew he'd never be able to beat her on his own. Please,
It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to fight. We can be allies. Bring forth a new era of peace between our kinds.
Shut up! All you do is talk about nothing, stalling, hoping I'll show mercy. In the mysterious beyond, there is no mercy, nothing but kill or be killed. With a sweep of her claw, Stephanie slapped Chomper violently across the face and continued her rant. You took my spot, my given right, snatched it away like a bone from under my nose. All I ever wanted was to be alpha. For that, I'll make you suffer. Going forth, she knocked him upside the chin, sending him crashing to the ground. When he didn't move, she grinned, going and placing a foot upon him, bending over to whisper to him. Before I end your pathetic reign, I'm going to slay those you're trying to protect. In truth, I feel more alive when I kill, when I watch the life fade from someone's eyes. Stephanie gazed down at Chomper's wide, fearful eyes, while hers were full of rage and a bit of joy. You can't change me any more than I can change you. Also, if you're the real alpha, you should be able to stop me. I'll leave your girlfriend last. That way you can watch as I kill her. She gripped his head and beat it into the ground, hearing him moan and remain unmoved. With a satisfied hum, she rose and went after the fleeing leaf-eaters. On the earth, Chomper looked up, seeing her walk away. His vision was blurry, and when he went to stand, his legs only shook and gave out on him. I failed, he uttered, eyes welling with tears. No, you can do this, my son. A voice spoke, belonging to Charity. When he opened his eyes, he saw her, along with his father. Get up, son. Show them who you really are. Chomper lay there, frowning and grunting, attempting to stand, struggling and slipping to the ground yet again. It's hopeless. I'll never be strong enough. While things seemed hopeless for Chomper, the gang were having their own troubles, moving through a narrow passage, unable to fight back. The only good thing was they had the high ground, Littlefoot slapping them with his tail, Sarah moving out to poke them. We can't keep them back, Sarah said, taking a step to stay clear of a great muzzle, snipping at her. We can't let them into the Great Valley. Where'd Ruby go? Maybe she'd know what to do. As if on cue, from above a rock fell and knocked Stephen in the head. On a little ledge, Ruby stood, holding another rock and tossing it down. Take that, you jerk! Frank and Stephen shrank back, Blaze climbing the rocks, trying to reach Ruby. Don't worry, boys. I got this one. With a gasp, Ruby froze when he clambered over the edge, growling and smiling at her. Our leader will be pleased with me, especially if I bring your severed head to her. I'm not afraid of you, for Chomper will beat her. Doubtful. He's passed out, which means there's no one to save you or your friends. He tackled Ruby to the earth, though she fought back, pounding the rock into his side. Why, you little pain in the... Ooh! Rolling over, Ruby beat her fists into his face, only for him to grip her wrists, flipping her over and pinning her down. No one makes a fool out of me and gets away with it. She let out a yell, looking down to see Screech and Thud distract Frank, who was too bulky to nab them, swinging his tail to hit Screech, who lay unconscious, while Thud fought on. Littlefoot and Sarah were in a bind, Stephen and Stephanie approaching them. Glad you showed up, leader. I'll show you how to deal with these fools. Stephanie managed to avoid a horn and grabbed Sarah by the neck, not killing her, only cutting off her air supply and letting her lay by an angered Littlefoot. Sarah! Glancing at the approaching pair, he whipped his tail, only for Stephen to grab and pull him down. Littlefoot was helpless, seeing Stephanie laugh, eyeing the pair up. Nice work, guys.
Now the fun has just begun. I say we toy with them, kill them nice and slow."
Raising her hand, she held her fingers, snapping them, letting them know to attack. The gang shut their eyes, awaiting their impending doom, only for there to be a long pause. Littlefoot opened his eyes, standing over Sarah to shield her, finding the pair of Sharptooth frozen in mid-bite. Even Ruby was taken aback. A set of jaws were above and below her face, motionless. Then, quickly, the attackers were lifted and slammed down. Behind the group, Chomper stood, eyes full of rage, nose bleeding while he held one arm out at them. "Get away from my friends!" Throwing his arm to his side, he yanked them away from the gang, forcing them to face him. Stephen and Frank rose, going in for the kill, only to be stopped again by the invisible force, Chomper holding both hands out to keep them at bay. When Stephanie went to him, she found herself unable to take a single step. Eyeing Chomper up, Stephanie wasn't able to lunge at him. Struggling to move, she hissed, "How are you doing this?" "Littlefoot, get Sarah and Ruby back into the valley," Chomper called, seeing Blaze head his way, knowing he could stall long enough for them to get to safety. "Right!" Littlefoot managed to lift Sarah, able to carry her, Ruby coming down to join them, pausing and seeing Chomper fend off the four, who kept trying to attack him, only to be tossed around. Thud was there, needing help with dragging Screech to safety. Ruby wanted to help Chomper, yet went to Thud's side. When they reached the highest part, Ruby held her breath. "Chomper!" she called, hoping he'd join them. "Don't worry, Ruby. I think he's got this," Guido said, landing beside her and taking her hand. "Come on, we need to move to get back into the valley." Unwilling to, yet knowing she had to, Ruby kept pulling Screech and followed Guido, seeing Chomper move to try and enter the narrow passage. Tossing his arm out, he sent Frank into Stephen, both tumbling and knocking into Blaze. Stephanie leaped over the pile-up, going after Chomper, who scrambled into the valley. "Not so fast, coward! You can't escape me!" Before he could put space between them, he felt a set of teeth dig into his left leg. Stephanie shook his leg violently, tearing the flesh, feeling the blood, and tasting it in her mouth. Crying out, Chomper focused on Stephanie, shooting her backward and into the side of the great wall. The impact caused a few pebbles to clatter downward, Stephanie recovering and trying to stand. "You think your abilities can save you?" Then he noticed boulders above the four. "No, but they sure are useful." Reaching out, he yelled and watched the large rocks tumble, coming loose and falling, heading right for Stephanie and her pack. Stephanie glanced from the falling boulders to Chomper, smiling a wicked grin. "This isn't the last fight, it was only the beginning." Showing no fear while the rocks fell upon her, she closed her eyes and was crushed along with her pack, killed right before Chomper's eyes. Once the dust settled, he smelled blood, hoping they died quickly. He held his breath, lowering his trembling hand. What broke him from staring ahead was Ruby, her hand resting upon his shoulder. "It's all quiet, Chomper." He nodded, struggling to stand due to his hurt leg. "Your leg, it's hurt." Yeah, but they're gone. It's over," Chomper whispered, looking to Ruby, who had a few cuts and bruises on her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Shh." She patted his head and held him, hearing him sniff. Leaning into her, he cried, feeling guilty for leaving her. The pair sat for a while, seeing no sign of life, knowing Stephanie and her killer pack were truly gone for good.